This is Earthmovers
with Alison Mariella Désir, Stephanie Flippin, and Verna Nesbegay-Volker.
A trail podcast reclaiming the narrative.
All right, come on up, Alysia.
Hi, woohoo!
So I'm very excited for this. Alysia and I talk often, but it's mostly really frantic voice notes and texts back and forth. So perhaps our first real conversation in years, maybe.
Hold on, let me save my life over
Get yourself
here.
together, nobody looking. So I am so excited for this moment. This is actually the first ever live podcast recording of Earthmovers. It is a new podcast. Yeah, we can clap for that.
Woo!
It's a podcast that's sponsored by Ultra. Ultra's in the room here today. We're super grateful. Our podcast is to reclaim the narrative on the trail and the outdoors. And I'm so honored that I get to speak with my friend today.
Yes,
Hello.
woohoo! Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And I've got it together. I mean, I did drink that bubbly water, so I'm gonna try to.
There's always something. This woman needs no introduction, but I'm going to read her introduction because I was given it. Alysia Montaño is transforming the landscape of women's sports through fearless advocacy for mom athletes. A 7-time national champion and Olympic bronze medalist, she became a global symbol of strength and defiance when she raced while 8 months pregnant, shattering outdated norms and igniting a movement for maternal rights in sport. Off the track, Montaño has driven policy reform, challenged industry giants, and built platforms that demand equity for women, balancing elite competition and motherhood. Her bold leadership is breaking barriers, rewriting rules, and building a future where women everywhere never have to choose between starting a family and their ambitions.
Woo!
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take it.
Okay, I want to start with how we became friends.
Yes.
And I wonder, do you remember?
I love that question because there was a few prompts. I didn't read them all because I like an organic conversation. I know we are very good for that. But I did see that top one, and I'm like, you tell me.
Oh my gosh.
What happened?
It was like a life-changing moment for me, but I realized it wasn't mutual. Okay.
Oh, no. So we were at the...
Keep it together. Okay, so I remember in 2019, I had just given birth, and, it was a few months after that, but you were speaking with Lauren Fleshman and Lindsay, the New York Times.
Lindsay Krause.
And so you two were having the you three were having the conversation, and I was just like in the stands being like, oh my God, that's Alysia Montaño. And then I came down and you said hello to me like I was like a normal person. You made eye contact, and I was like, oh my God, she saw me. So that was our first encounter. And then the second one was times were not so great. It was during the pandemic and after the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, and Lauren Fleshman, again, she made this connection between the two of us because she was like, you're both Black women raising children, and you are powerful people, you need to connect. And I think she put us on a group text, and I was like, did she just give me Alysia's phone number?
I love this. Okay, and then?
Yeah, and then... And then you said that we should chat. And I was like, you mean like on phone or like telepathically?
I love this so much. It must have been kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember a moment in time, and I have a pretty good memory. Okay. But what I do know is when I spent time connecting with you, speaking with you, it was it's very deep. Beyond surface level, which is, I don't even want to say it's not rare, but to be able to connect with a Black woman, like you said, powerhouse, with children, trying to make sure that we don't bury ourselves as systems are already trying to bury us. I felt that very deeply. So I guess the moment in time wasn't it, but I remember what that connection felt like.
Absolutely. And it feels like we've known each other forever. Like,
I mean,
in my head, I'm like, remember when we raced in middle school? And like, I was fast then. So speaking of, tell me about young Alysia. Right?
Oh my gosh.
What were you like as an athlete, as a human?
It's very similar to how I am now. I think there's a little bit of maturity that has happened since my little Alysia self, but I do think I have always been a very tenacious go-getter. Don't tell me I can't do something I believe that I can do. And actually, if you do tell me I can't do it, I'm going to show you that I can. I grew up playing sports with my brothers and my cousins. I grew up with mainly all boys. My grandma had 10 children, so my aunts and uncles all very close. So when I say like my cousins, like I grew up in a house full of people. Cousins lived 5 miles down the street, and we all were each other's best cheerleaders all the time. It was really like, and I also grew up in a predominantly white area, so people would be like, is your cousin, and it wasn't actually racist because it was actually like, yeah, that actually is my cousin. I was like, yeah, that Dane's my cousin, you know. But I felt like growing up in that way, experiencing a village so deep, you know, was something that really was so formative to who I am right now, who I am today. You know, the cliche term, sky is the limit, all of that things. We really did believe every last one of us could go beyond that limit. And we were gonna make sure that we supported each other to do our wildest dreams. When I first started running track, it was actually on the infield with my oldest cousin, Mark. He was running hurdles, and we just kind of ran down him the whole way, being like, go Mark, let's go Mark! You know, Mark won, we won. And I feel like I took that entire village with me, you know, to today and beyond. You know, anytime I win, my entire family wins. And I recognized how important that village was to me, and I want to continue to be that village for other people.
Beautiful. Mary Wittenberg cited the statistic earlier that I think it's like 45% of girls don't move beyond sport after middle school. And so I wonder, did you face any of that challenge, any sense like you wouldn't continue with sport? Or like you said, it was just like, sky's the limit, like I'm running with the boys, I know this is for me.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna tell some truth.
Okay.
That is embarrassing when I really think about it. But again, I've been playing sports since the beginning, like I could remember, really. You know, we used to pull the neighborhood kids together. We were playing roller hockey. We were playing flag football. Well, we were actually playing tackle football, but I believe we should have been playing flag football. Basketball, all of it, street sports across the board. It was like ring all the doorbells, come on out, is Amanda home, is da-da-da home.
Remember the time of our cell phones?
That's great. Well, we got a landline, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I digress. And, you know, so that always felt like this is very much a part of me. I remember, you know, we would play in the field at the elementary school down the street, and I would be one of the only girls that would be playing, and I would be the free safety because the neighborhood boys would say, oh, like, your little sister can't play with us because if she gets hurt, then we're not gonna be able to play again. They're like, okay, let's put her free safety, and they think they're gonna score a touchdown, and then I'd be sprinting from the side and tackle them. And that's where the flower began. I picked up a daisy, put a flower in my hair, said, and I'm a girl, you know? So, yeah, so she lives. And so that was very empowering for me, where as a young girl, and I, again, you know, it was I want to be like Mike era, you know, and I was gonna, I wanted to be the girl that was like, you know, girls, we can play sports too, because there wasn't that many. I was before school, recess, lunch, after school playing basketball, and it was me, Mandy Seckley, girl, shout out, what are you doing? Where are you at? And I knew like there was something there for me in sports, but around that time that Mary Wittenberg shared, my dad started basketball teams within all the elementary schools in the district. There was no like organized sort of teams with the schools.
Wow.
And it was essentially because he was like, I recognize the boys are playing, my daughter doesn't have an opportunity to play, you know, let's like give some space to that. So I was a 4th grader playing with the 5th graders, and then, you know, so on and so forth. But around 5th grade is when you were allowed to be on the cheerleading team. Oh. And all the girls were trying out to be cheerleaders, and that's when I actually felt like, oh, there's Tara's over there, Nicolette's over there, Jerry, he's kind of cute, but you know, there's that thing that starts happening around that time, and I played the first game, and the second game, I was like, Dad, I think I'm gonna try out for the cheerleading team. I mean, I can't imagine what was actually going on in his head, where he was like,
do you know what I did for you?
You know, and he did. He let me go try out for it. I made the team, and I the second game, I cheered instead of playing in the game, and that was it for me. I was like, oh, heck no, because all I did was feel myself on that bench, like, you know, on the side, like, you know, and so that was one time, and I just told the cheer captain, I said, actually, I want to play on a basketball team. That was a really fun experience, but I felt that. It was it was that pull, and it's that time, that social time.
Yeah.
And there are differences on how you interact together, the girls and the boys. I see it very much right now with my daughter. I have an 11-year-old. And it's just different. Like, we love our men, we love our boys. Everyone is not the same. We can say that for sure, but a majority is very lizard brain. I have 2 little boys.
Oh my gosh.
And
the cutest.
they're the sweetest ever, but it's just again, you know, they are very different boys. We don't want to. No one's a monolith. There's not a monolith any gender, you know, but I will say I do see differences when I look on the playground right now, and my son puts like lizards in his pocket and stuff like that.
I have to tell a story though. Speaking of boys being different, so our boys hung out once. It was the sweetest thing in the world. They both put on Alicia's lipstick, right? But then one of your sons was like, "Hey, let's go roll down the hill," and my son was like, "Mama, I don't want to." I was like, why don't you go pick flowers?
Yes.
And while they
That's the one. So that's why he and Lennox are very similar.
Lennox, yeah.
The one that wants to roll down the hill
It's
also puts
Aster.
lizards in his pocket.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
got it. Yeah. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Anyway,
where were we?
That's where I felt the pressure.
Uh-huh.
And it was a quick switch for me, which in the fire and desire in my heart told me by trying something different, just off of essentially, you know, let's be honest, following the crowd.
Yeah.
That it wasn't for me. And I just want to encourage every little girl that feels that it's normal, but also at the same time, the desires of your heart are yours. And they're for you to follow.
When did you know that you were good enough?
Girl.
I asked that question because there has to be, I'm good at a lot of
That's a good
things.
question.
It's not sport, but actually I was pretty good at sport, just not like Olympic good. But there has to have been a moment or a series of moments where you were like, I am good enough. In fact, I'm the best, because now I know several Olympians, world champions, and they have to believe this, or at least project it. So
Your questions are so good because not only are they're heavy hitters, but they're also gas me up. Like, it's like, I'm like gonna float out the room in a second. When did I know I was good enough? You mean not just within like my
to
being,
make it, like
but
I'm gonna
athletically.
Exactly.
Okay, because I was about to say.
I know. That's a lifelong
They're two
journey.
different things. Yeah. I think, gosh, I always felt I was good enough.
What? Say that again.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful
I did.
thing.
I just, I'm gonna try this thing, and like, if I want to try this thing, and in my mind and in my heart, I feel that I want to be good at this thing, I know I will be good at it.
Wow, that's beautiful. Tell me, what does that competitive spirit feel like? Okay, so picture this. you're on the track, like you're lining up. Like, what was your pre-race thing?
Ooh.
Like, did you touch your toes? Did you jump?
Oh,
up?
yeah, there's
Could
lots
you
of
show
movement.
us right here? No, the mic.
I mean,
fall
I
off,
can
but
get it.
tell.
I can't get back on it.
Yeah. What was that like? And then what was in the brain? Because it's like, it is the amygdala. There's like a lot of lizard brain happening, but then
Yeah.
there's also like a lot of thought and positive reinforcement. So tell me about that brain.
So you asked a lot of questions
I
in
know.
there.
Just pick a few. What
yeah.
is it like?
I'm like, I can talk your ear off. Okay, so I really very much believe everybody in this room has their own, as Beyonce would say, Sasha fears. So when I'm going to compete or go after what I want, I do lock in. And so to me, what it feels like, it does feel like a volcano ready to erupt. Like it feels like, as you'd hear people describe it, feels like a horse waiting to get out of the stables, or like a dog on a leash and you're trying to hold him back. It feels like every fire that was started previous to that moment of you standing on that line is ready to be ignited. I'm trying to describe it in a way, I know you guys have felt this when you know you're about to do this thing that you've been working to get done. That's, I think, why it's even named like this, the fire, within. Like you hear those, because it feels like that.
Yeah.
But something when I was really competing in World Championships, at the Olympics, I definitely felt like I'm about to rip all of your heads off. Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
In the most, I don't have to say it to you. I don't have to look at you. I just, that's what I need to do right now. No one gets any space. Like, I'm running through a brick wall. And that's just what it feels like. It feels like anything is possible. It feels like an unstoppable force. And it does feel like you hold all of the power in the world to make this thing happen.
Chills. Okay, so you're an amazing athlete, and yet you were at podiums or just missing podiums because a bunch of no good women doing the wrong thing. What is that like? Like, again, you knowing that you are one of the best, but missing the accolades, the celebration, the money.
Yeah. Send the check and send it quick. That came from my daughter. My daughter said that one time. That's her phrase now. She says, send the check and send it quick. Okay, I digress really quick. My daughter and I were like this. And she's 11 years old. She watches everything that I do. I can be on the computer, do my little typing stuff away. She watches me, create invoices, send all the things, and she's in my business. Okay, I'm in hers too, so it's good. And so sometimes she'll be like, so what is this one about? What are you sending this one to? Well, this one's a little bit overdue, so I have to send a follow-up, da-da-da. And she's like, tell him to send the check and send it quick.
Well, because she knows that doesn't happen. That's one thing about being an entrepreneur athlete. You are constantly begging for your checks.
Hilarious. I just look back at her like, what in the... Yeah, so now that's our line now. So when you hear me say that came from my daughter.
I love it.
My daughter. And the other thing we like to say is from the Grinch, where the Grinch is like, the child said something about a check. Anyway.
That's the weird side that I don't think everybody knows. Like, even when I was talking to Erica Edwards O'Neill, and I was like, Alysia is coming, and that woman is bananas, right? And she's like, yes, but in the best way.
Well, thank you.
And can I bring this back to another Take the Lead moment when Lola Bakari was talking about gravitas and how people, when they're really in their power, they lean into their quirks? Well, this woman has leaned in, okay?
Listen, I'm not afraid of who I am.
Yeah.
That's just the fact of the truth of the matter, So
I love it. Okay, so back to being overlooked.
Well, here's the thing. It's a systemic issue. It's not a me issue. And that's something that we have to separate. It's not a me issue. I did, again, every single part of who I am and everything that I brought to the table was all that I could bring to the table. And I knew that I did every single thing that I could. Now, this is why we do what we do, because systems do not break themselves down. People create systems, and they'll hold them as long as it serves them. And it takes somebody who the system is not serving to recognize, wait a minute, how is this system for all people? This is not working out. And so for me, when it comes to several different areas, but specifically about the losses of metal in real time, which I do have now, that was really, from the top to the bottom. There were people in power at the top who were being paid off to hide drug tests. They skirted the system, and essentially what it meant was people who were doing it clean and fair lost out. And so when you ask the question about being overlooked, I don't know if necessarily I felt like overlooked. I felt that this system is so unjust. If I don't say something about it, it'll never be broken down. They'll be completely fine with it. And there was a time where I felt like, dang, they're never going to catch her. I'm just not going to shut up. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to say like, hey, or I wanted to check in on the drug tests with, the athletes that finished ahead of me, specifically naming them with USADA and WADA. They're like, hey, we're going through the system. We're looking at biological passports. Because it wasn't just like looking at people and be like, you finished ahead of me. You must be doping. That was not how it happened. So I don't know if you guys have...
Right, yeah, I guess I should have shared more.
Yeah, just to kind of give some context to this case. It was along the lines of the Russian doping scandal. I don't know if you guys watched the documentary Icarus. You can also watch something on ProRepublica where they basically got an insider scoop. There was an athlete who was a part of the Russian regime who was a whistleblower. And so she shared what was happening with the athletes within the time that I was competing against the gold and bronze medalists. and essentially just recorded them and shared all the drugs that they were taking in order for them to have performance-enhancing benefits. And so that's just some background on how we know that was actually happening. And then it came out, and then nothing was being done for years, because this is 13 years now that I'm just now getting my Olympic bronze medal, but I'm not going to actually get it until LA 2028.
Which I want to talk about,
Yeah. But anyways, that's just on the question of being overlooked. I feel like it's just the unjust system. And what I want to mention is, before that, though, not just on the medal part, before that, there was spaces of being overlooked before that, that actually continued to ignite this fire of like, they're gonna have to not overlook me, where I would be on the line.
Yeah.
At USA Nationals, I would have been defending champion, and you can see the camera scroll to everybody and then just be like, next person be like, hold on, I just won the last 2 years. And they were, the media was essentially trying to continuously pick the Great White Hope, really is what it was. It was a continuous, they were picking their star, that they really were like, does it have to be this black girl?
And dark
black
girl,
one too? You know, and I'm like, actually, I'll be here next year, you know? And even the year they thought they were gonna miss, I showed up on that line 8 months pregnant, and I was like, by the way, I'm still here, and I'll be back next year.
Yes. I love how you turned what happened to you outward versus inward, because that is one of your many superpowers, right? You weren't like, damn, like, it's just about me. You were like, wait a minute, this is y'all, actually, and I am built to break this system down. And I want to talk about you running 8 months pregnant, because that was so brave, and I think kids these days, man, they think things just, they don't know that the coconut fell from the tree when it fell yesterday, right? Right, they don't understand just how much bravery it took for you to do that. So, like, walk me through how you showed up like that.
Well, I mean, I think it's observing, right? You walk into, for me, so I need to not say you, for me, I became a professional athlete, and I imagined it was going to be one way, because the way we see it, the way that we're all seeing it, we're like, this is so awesome. Look at them, look at Angel Reese, look at Sue Bird, they have everything, and we don't see the inner workings of the whole thing. And so then when you're inside of it, for instance, one part of it for me was being a junior in college, having an opportunity to go pro, passing that up, because I was like, if I go pro right now, I'm not finishing school. I could just tell you that right now. And I would have been the first generation graduate from my family to graduate college. And so, just to be fair to my mom and my dad, they went back to school and they finished and they have their degrees. But yeah.
Love that.
But in real time. And so I'm like, girl, okay, I have this opportunity. I need to make sure that I finish this up. So I made sure that I passed that opportunity up then, and I knew that it was important in the 2008, in that Olympic year, that I perform well, and that I'd have an opportunity to sign a contract then. So we're talking 20, 21 years old, signing a professional contract, not knowing some words to look for, like pregnancy, maternity, like postpartum, any of those words. I didn't really think through looking for that, and there was not an example before me to help me understand, like, hey, by the way, just so you know, you're a female-bodied individual. It's possible that you could potentially become pregnant, whether, it's intentional or not. It's just possible. And so I signed this contract because I was like, okay, medals, yeah, I'm going for that. Records, yeah, I'm going for that. I'm going for all of that stuff. And then as I progressed and I became national champion several times over, broke records, did all the things that were in that contract that were like, thumbs up, we're doing it, right? Now I have, matured in my womanhood. Something that I'm thinking about that I wasn't when I was 21 years old is becoming a mom. And then that's when I look in that contract, I'm like, and I'm like, oh, there's just an injury clause in here. There isn't anything that says pregnancy postpartum, and I don't believe that pregnancy is an injury. And so I went and asked my sponsors at the time, what would happen if an athlete were to become pregnant? And this is also in a point where I had leverage to ask for a bump in my salary. And they were like, if any athlete were to become pregnant, we would just pause their contract and stop paying them.
Jesus.
And I was just like, okay, hypothetically, that's not me. And I knew that there were several other things that happened with this same company.
We know who it is. We don't have to say it.
I knew that they didn't respect women. They didn't respect Black women. I mean, we're talking about, even prior to mentioning pregnancy, postpartum, choosing anybody lighter over me. My accolades didn't matter. I had more accolades, and I just wasn't chosen to be a part of their campaigns or any of that. So I'm like, okay, look, we are pregnant to do this. It's done. It's a done deal. So I went and I moved to connecting with another partner, sharing what I wanted out of my career, what I'd hoped for, asked them all of the things that I'd hoped that someone would have helped me understand I should have asked. Like, how are you guys with your women campaigns? How do you go about pregnancy, motherhood? How do you support your athletes? And, how do you even support them in injury? Because that's going to be a part of the journey.
Right.
And the person who was lead at the next sponsor that I went to, I'm trying to be nice over here.
We know what that one is too.
The person in lead was a woman, and she was phenomenal. She was like, this, that, like, let's look through how we can make this better. But something I noticed was the language around injury didn't change. The extension of time changed, which would equal the amount of time I needed to recover postpartum. So I did feel a target on my back when it came to even mentioning pregnancy, postpartum, because of my previous experience, that I didn't push it. I wish I would have, but I did feel alone now that the other one's off the table. Oh, like, somebody gotta pay these bills. And that's what ends up happening. We end up kind of being sequestered into a corner, pushed into needing to choose, well, shoot, like, how much more can I ask for that is important and matters to us? And so when I decided to step on the line at 8 months postpartum, remember, I'd gone through all that already. I had all these conversations already, and I just realized all of that's invisible. No one, this is just a conversation that people are having in a room with four walls, and most of the time it's with several men.
Right.
How do I make this visible? And so I called up my partner at the time and I said, hey, I need a uniform. And they're like, oh, when does your baby due again? I was like, don't worry about it. Actually, can you make it one size larger? And they sent the uniform. I signed up for USA Nationals at like the deadline.
Wow.
And there I was on the line. And I had eyeballs on me, agents. Like, even my agent at the time came to me and was like, hey, you don't have to do this. And in my head I said, actually I do. Yeah. And I thought that it would change the game in the track and field world, and it happened to go globally, change the game across sports, all sports, and across, not even just sports, all industries. And so, again, that fire
give it up for Alysia right now? The fact that these things happening to you don't stop you or make you think, poor me, they just propel you to change systems is like just the thing that I love most about you.
Thank you.
And I love a lot of things.
Thank you.
I want to shift a little bit because at some point in your career, you then started shifting to trail. Or was trail always a part of your career, we just didn't know it?
That's the part. I feel like trail has always, just to answer the first question, trail has always been a part of my career. It's always been a part of my life. Nature has always been a part of my life. And I feel like, being somebody who loves nature, likes being out in the hills, in the trails, I'll take it as a quirk, but I just think like we all deserve that. That's like a natural way of being. And somehow it's been branded like you have to actively call yourself a trail runner in order for the trails to be yours. And so I never really, it's obviously become a sport, and a very prevalent sport, and one that I love to cheer on and be a part of as well, but it's always been something that's mine. And so I just felt like where I'm at now is not just, I don't even want to, it's just claiming. I don't even want to say reclaiming, it's just claiming, like, this is mine too. Like, maybe I'm not going and running, 100 miles through, where are we going again? I don't want to go through the Sahara. Come on now.
I thought you were really going somewhere. I'm like, where are you going?
Right. This is my theater, I'm breaking the fourth wall. but it's always been mine. And, you know, having an opportunity to partner with a company that really embraces
And
that.
we will name that company.
And we will name them, to partner with Ultra, and they recognize that. They recognize that it is very much mine, that we utilize all the look at this green earth that we have.
Right.
Some patches of beautiful brown, tan, whatever, water, we got all the stuff. Why don't we embrace that this is all ours? And so being with Ultra, I've been able to have these wonderful conversations where I share how much trails is very much a part of my journey in any facet of it. It has been a part of it as, you know, I was embarking upon my track career, as I continue to explore and challenge myself in the trails and on the roads and on the track. Like, you know, I claim it.
Yeah.
And it gets to be mine.
I love that, because there is the sense that we have to declare ourselves one thing or one way, or that a trail runner looks a particular way or runs a certain amount of mileage, and it's not true, right? I mean, I think all of us have been on some trail. Well, definitely the folks here, because we went on a trail. Right, but it's, you know, we are yes and we're more than just one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alysia is like breaking down barriers all over the place. And then you found an organization now called Fam Plus.
Yes.
Tell me about the imperative to start something.
Yes. So our name that you'll hear is For All Mothers, and then there's a plus sign, and then you'll hear Fam Plus, so just so you know. But I started this nonprofit organization in 2020 after I did the New York Times OpEd. Nike told me to dream crazy until I had a baby. And that was essentially like blowing the lid off of just the sports industry, but it was not just the sports industry, it was through the lens of sports, where we were talking about the barriers, or I was sharing the barriers that mothers face in trying to pursue their careers and their motherhood, and the systemic injustices that exist and how we break them down. And so in 2020, it's just an interesting time, but I was just, we have shared all of the barriers that we are facing, but then what's the action part? What are we gonna do about it? Are we just gonna talk about how much this stinks? And I had, flooded inbox. I literally had my storage was like red. It was like, honey, are you gonna answer these emails? Or are you gonna delete them? And I was like, I wanna save these. There was just so many people, not professional runners, I'm talking across all industries, that were like, this is how I relate to your story. And that's what just sparked, I need to create a nonprofit organization that continues to use movement as a way of impact. And starting the nonprofit organization really was a way to do that. I recognize that our podium moments as professional athletes were podium moments for all mothers. And you hear all of the athletes share that when they have their baby, and they're like, this is for all the moms. You know, I even have mine in 2015 when I came back and won nationals at 6 and 10 months postpartum. I was like, this is for all the moms. And it really is, you know, and not everyone, again, a lot of people are living their stories in silos and in corners, and where it feels like all by themselves. And I have a very incredible opportunity to use my podium moment as one that can shed a light on the barriers that we face and help break them down. And so with our nonprofit organization, we pilot, essentially. We got to pilot with Erica and Kelly, New York Roadrunners. I don't know where they went, but we got to pilot with New York Roadrunners, essentially, how we can create a different system that is more inclusive of mothers in sports. And so essentially what we did is we brought lactation accommodations, which seems like this is not a novel,
not rocket science.
It's not rocket science, it's not a hard thing to do. But we brought lactation stations to the New York City Marathon at the start line, the finish line, and along the course. And it was a game changer. The first year, you know, people were like, oh, this exists. The second year, then we had, 50 more people. And the next year we had a line out the door because people were like, this is here for me. Thank you so much. Wow. I ran at, the New York City Marathon 2 years ago, and my, breasts were essentially rocks by the time I finished. Or, I passed up having an opportunity to run because I didn't know logistically. It was just too much for me to think about. And so that's essentially what we've been doing. And then we write the playbook from there, and it's like, okay, here you go. You got this. You can do this. We did in track and field where we had childcare. Every space is not going to be able to have childcare. Again, like something like the New York City Marathon, 55,000 people.
Imagine.
And girl, I'd be like, yeah, you on your own.
I'd be like, pick a child, any child.
But essentially, it's just like reimagining what it could look like. We talk about reimagining women in sports and keeping them in sports. One thing that's really important to me when I was starting this nonprofit organization and how I wanted to see the longevity of women in sports and not having motherhood be a dead stop to your ambitions, let alone your career, was what we do, and we're talking about me as a little girl, what we do with little girls, and it's telling them you can be anything. You can be anything you want to be. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. And we're creating these landscapes where it's like, yes, we've got STEM, we got, girls code, all of this stuff. But then when they do all those things and they have all this desire and they realize, wow, like the village is coming together to help me really ignite this fire. And then you become a mom and the flame is put out.
Yeah.
What then? What of the moms? So this nonprofit organization is about continuing to allow that flame to grow.
Man, I have two directions I could go, and I'm just gonna offer both, and you take one. So, on the panel before,
Blue pill or red pill?
right? On the panel before, I might even forget the second one. On the panel before, we talked about how looking at the front of the pack helps everybody, right? And so you have this idea of sport as a microcosm for society, but particularly looking at the elite athlete. So that's the blue pill. The red pill is, I thought it was so brave when you had your third child. Because I was like, damn, Alysia, you had one, you had two, you had three, they told you shouldn't have any. And I wonder, did you see it as, like, how, I don't imagine you were like, I'm gonna be brave and have a child. But how did you conceptualize continuing, like, honoring your family, knowing just how hard it would be? That's the red pill.
I'm not the one. Okay. I think I gotta take both pills. Is that I don't mean
yes,
OD,
I was
but
hoping.
this is a good OD. Here's the thing. I love the way that you brought up just the front of the pack. Seeing the front of the pack helps everybody. If you watch me compete in a lot of ways on the track specifically, I like to lead. I wanted to be able to be the purveyor of my own destiny, really. I didn't want for the pathway to be one that I had to follow from somebody else. It's not that I couldn't also allow for someone to help me get to where I'm going, but specifically in the way that, going back to like, what did it feel like? That's what it felt like for how I needed to show up. I recognize, just to break it down a little bit, in the 800 specifically, we were kind of pacing the 800 in that era when I was, 7-time national champion and all the other accolades that came with that. And I said, well, why don't we just bust it wide open? I mean, what happens? What is going to happen? And I just dared to lead in that regard, and it did change the game. We just started breaking 2 minutes across the board. Everyone was just breaking 2 minutes. And I was just out there like, oh my God, and I love that because not only did it elevate the sport and that event specifically, but it also helped elevate me. Then they started coming. I was like, oh, shoot, they're here now. But that's what you want. You want for people to come up with you because it only helps elevate.
Yes.
And thank you. I'll take it. And the second question on just, having a first and then the barriers and the second and the barriers and then a third and the barriers, it goes back to like, I am the one who follows the desires of my heart. If we walk through this entire world, look into our left and to our right, like, what does so-and-so think if I do? Or what if I follow my heart and, ooh, that's gonna make somebody else uncomfortable. We would all be in a world of hurt. We wouldn't have women of color take the lead. We wouldn't have that. And it's just about recognizing that we are all individually different on purpose. And we literally are all meant to follow the desires of heart because we have them all planted within us to help elevate one another. I truly 100% believe that. And so when I think about, and there's going to be some, there's levels to this. When it comes to me, my motherhood, and my family, we talked about me growing up and the village that I grew up in, and of course I'm not having 10 kids, mama, I love you. But I did recognize how beautiful and incredible it was to have your just internal, four-wall powerhouse of people that are like, no matter what, you and me ride or die. Yeah, you took my Lego this morning, but if Billy Joe comes over at recess again, it's gonna be all of us, And I just felt like it was just important for me to recognize how important my family was to me, and that was going to be something that I got to have an opportunity to foster. And then the other part of that, and then continue, to help them recognize their own individual desires of their heart. It's not for me to determine, that's not for me to determine. But I'm watching them, I'm like, that is, to me, watching my kids grow, watching them, find who they are, and they'll continue to find who they are, try new things. I mean, I could go on, and I could open up my phone right now and my photo and be like, this is my daughter when she was that. But that's truly how I feel, but I also recognize that they are also going to be the ones that continue to help this world go round in a positive way. Yeah. If we, the people in this room, are positive individuals that recognize that change needs to happen, we recognize that we can be good influences, that we are the ones that continue to foster the next generation. And with my family, I'm just like, we talk about systemic barriers, we talk about the they not like us, we talk about they. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, yeah, they're gonna have to get more of us. I'm gonna be the one. Like, I don't want to, it's already been, historically, we've already been in a society where we've essentially tried to extinguish people of color. Right. And if we can't do it, through genocide, slavery, all of those things, we will do it in the medical room. Somebody will come for a medical emergency, we will dismiss them. Mm-hmm. We're done with that. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm just like, they already don't, you know who I'm talking about, they. You can anecdote that in your podcast, but already don't want us to be here. I want us to be here. So we're just going to have to, you're just going to have to deal with it. So for us, we got the Montaño family. We're a family of 5. You know what I'm saying? We got my brother, the Johnsons. They're a family of, you got 6. My brother has 4 kids. And it's just about, not allowing yourself to be extinguished, your history to be extinguished, your lineage to be extinguished, and not being afraid to break the status quo. So, by the way, I'm not telling y'all to have 3 babies, just so you know.
That's not the message here.
That's not the message here. But the thing is, I wanted that. Yeah. And, just to give a little bit of context and background, and by the way, it's not my phone dinging, I apologize. My phone is always off, so that is surprising. Sorry, take that out of the podcast. Keep it in. Just to give a little bit of background on my family and my babies, just short, because I know we're running out of time here.
No,
but,
I have a dream of vacationing with your family, so tell me more.
I mean, we're doing and I'm going to be like, tell me more about that time. So when I gave you the background of having my first child, and it was also like, oh, she's not going to be able to come back, her career is over. And then I was like, all right, I love it. Tell me more of what I can't do. I came back and I won nationals at 6 and 10 months postpartum. I won a gold medal at 8 months postpartum, broke an American record, still breastfeeding, and made the world championship team, which they thought I wasn't going to be able to make. And then in 2016, I did have a devastating end to that campaign, making the Rio Olympic team with a fall with 70 meters to go around there. Maybe more, but I blacked out. And that happens, you can have the prettiest setup, and sometimes you're gonna have something that's gonna just be like, oh, not today. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know, I don't understand this right now, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna get up and we're gonna keep going, which is essentially what I did. And at the end of that year, I had that same conversation. Again, the woman who was in the lead at this new partner is now out. And and 2 men stepped up in her spot. So anyway, we love that. And I had a conversation with him at the end of the year, and it was a renewal year. I mean, it was a contract, it was a contract renewal year. They had an option, and they asked me what I wanted to do in the next 4 years. And I said, well, I want to have another baby, and I had one at the time, and make the next Olympic team. And like, you could hear a pin drop, because I felt that I had proved that this is possible. Look at what we just did. Look at what we just did, right, team? Like, look at what we did. And they're like, we just want somebody who is going to be more dedicated to the sport over the next 4 years. And I didn't know how, and this is me giving all of the power and the wisdom and all. In that moment, I really did not know what else more I could say or do.
Right.
And I just said, okay. I didn't say much more than okay. I was like, okay, that was the end of that conversation. It was like maybe a 2-minute phone call. And kind of stared at the ceiling and was kind of like, okay, what in the world just happened there? But I think part of me was like, well, you guys aren't going to be the ones that are going to carry me through.
Right.
I didn't conceptualize all of that, at the time. I just knew I don't really need to be like, well, please keep me. Tell me I'm important.
When somebody shows you who they are.
Yeah, believe them the first time. And so that was the end of that, and that was at the end of the year. And I was like, okay, I still want to have that second child. I just knew that they weren't going to be the owners of my life. They weren't going to be the owners of my joy, of my happiness, and that what is going to be for me will be. And, we got pregnant with Astor, our lizard catcher.
He's the sweetest.
We love him, he's the best ever. And I'm overjoyed. Like, he is so incredible, wonderful. Watching him, what he's bringing to the world, I'm like, yeah, that's why. Yeah. You didn't want me to bring this into the world. You better watch out, you know. And then the same thing, and we rolled into, I didn't have a contract for the next 2 years. I felt like, okay, I can't say all the things that are happening because then I'll never get a contract. But I'm like, again, that's what they want. They want to silence you. They want to keep pushing you down. It's an abusive.
Keep you afraid.
They want to keep you. It's abusive rhetoric. It's textbook. Yeah. And that's when I said on the record, and I did the op-ed, and it changed the game. If I never would have done that, did the op-ed, had an opportunity, and then I was like, honey, I'm thinking about a third baby. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. He's looking at me like, girl. And I'm like, I don't know.
Her husband's awesome.
I'm just saying. And he's like, all right, yeah, if you want a third. We got pregnant the first time. We tried for it. I guess Lennox is on the way, And then it was so interesting after that because, I didn't know yet. And then the endorsements and partnerships started rolling in, and I was like, this is incredible. We have an opportunity to change the game. Yeah. If I can be supported to do what I believe can happen in society, and I'm supported to do that, we all are going to be better off for it. And then, I was pregnant with Lennox, and then I got a phone call that I'm getting 2 medals, and then it was just kind of like from there, I'm like, why? Because I followed my truth. Yeah. That's just how the universe works. Totally. The doors opened up because I didn't say, I'm going to sit in a corner and let my light be dimmed and my energy sit in a ball by itself. I let my energy out. And I just really believe that I have to continue to remember that, because I'm not saying I'm perfect. There are, we've had all the conversations across the board. There are going to be folks that are like, I hate that you got so much energy. Yes. Your light is, I feel like...
You do too much.
You do too much. Your light is shining brighter than mine. That's not even the truth. Our light can shine together. Yeah. And they're like, how do I I want just a little bit of that because, Yeah. But, then instead you're like, hey, give me that. What is that? Is that flammable? Give me that. Come on. You sit next to me. Get over here. Let's just let this light go together. But yeah, that's just the answer to... the very long-winded answer to why I took the blue pill.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question. One of the questions that we always ask is, what does being an Earth Mover mean to you? But I feel like we covered that. Yes. So I want to ask, what does LA 2028 mean to you? And we already know the state of the country. We're going to actually leave that out of here, right? We're not talking about whether this country deserves to have an Olympics, whether it's going to be safe to have an Olympics. We're going to talk conceptually about what this will mean for you.
Yes. LA 2028. Let's go. We coming? Is everybody coming? Let's go.
Hell yeah.
How many tickets I got to get? for me, LA 2028, it's claiming it. I think we can use even reclaiming in this instance for me, because I mean that medal was always mine. I knew it was always mine. I knew it was coming. I mean, 12 years. I was starting to be like,
Damn.
maybe I do need it. But to know that, and just to back up, this is my third retroactive global medal.
Wild.
So, which means, over the course of my career, in history, when they're talking about the history of the sport, I was left out of it. So, 2011, no medal, got that later. 2012, no medal, got that later. 2013, no medal, got that later. So we're talking like a reign of 4 years where it was just like, just off the podium. That's the story, she was our hope for a medal, just off the podium. And so to now be, 12 years later, knowing, I've got this medal. In 2019, I received my 2 World Championship global medals in Doha, Qatar. I was super pregnant. I don't even know how pregnant I was. I was super pregnant with my third. I had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they flew me on a 48-hour whirlwind. I fought for one more day. I was like, can I get 72 hours? To go get my medal. I wasn't gonna have an opportunity to have my parents paid for to go there, and I fought for that. I'm like, my parents are teachers, can we get them there? And I was able to, USATF did help, and they paid for that, but I'm talking, the offenders didn't, they were like, no, just come here and come get this medal. And I was like, we're gonna make this a trip of a lifetime. Like, my daughter to this day is like, Mom, can we go back to Doha? I was like, girl.
We cannot.
But I did want to own that, of like a space of happiness. I was like, we going, let's go. Even though I was still on the other side fighting, but with the kids, we got a wandering tot, we laid them across the aisle. Astor was making friends. He was like, hey, all the $8 little boxes, they were just giving them to him because he was like, he's 2 years old at the time, he's got these beautiful lashes. And at the end of that trip, he did come to me and he said, Mama, Mama, I'm so cute. And I was like, because that's all the flights. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. And I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, we went all the way to Doha to get those medals. And I remember so much emotion, just like, I was, excitement, but also like, trying to, managing the kids. Astor, actually, he got up in the middle of because it was 72 hours. So was it the middle of the night or was it just daytime for him? But it's 2 a.m., Lou and Astor are walking the halls and the race walkers come in. We're in Doha. So they do have this awesome experience that I want to just own with all of the other stuff. So, you got to own the joy with it too. He's handing all the waters to the race walkers. So if you got to do that, that's like, we have a picture of that. But then when I had the opportunity to get my medals, 2 in one podium setting, because they're like the only person, this like, Alysia, 2011 bronze medalist, and I'm like waddling up to the stage, and then I get my medal, and I'm just like, all the things, and then it's like, one sparkler, and like I look out, there's nobody in the stadium. I was like, oh, am I crying because I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And then, then I walk off in the corner and I hide around the corner and they said 2013 bronze medalist, and I walk out again, and it's like, and I was like, oh no, we can't do this again, So I was like, okay, I was like, next time, which is crazy that I can say it next time.
Right.
This is not how this is going down. I got demands. Here's what it's gonna look like. I want my medal in front of a home crowd, LA 2028. I want tickets for my entire family and then some. I haven't even finished my ticket count. And you all gonna get.
That's right, add 3 plus 57.
Yes, and I want there to be opportunities for childcare for all the mothers here at the Olympics. I want families that are the mothers, the dads, all of them that are competing at this Olympics to have tickets to come to this game. I want everybody to get reparations, okay? And I just realized that I can't leave it in the hands of y'all, because if you guys are gonna say what I deserve, I realize you don't think that I deserve everything. I deserve goodness, you know, I deserve what's mine. So I'm gonna let you know what it is. And so for LA 2028, you know, I grew up in the Los Angeles area. You know, there's a lot of formative years there. Just, you know, won the state meet in California. It's just the beginning of this incredible career. My family's there in LA. In 2012, when I won that Olympic bronze medal, my grandma turned 100 on that day.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so there was just so much magic with my family. My grandma's, you know, she's not 116, just so you guys know. But having my family there will have that presence of my grandma, and that's just what we're gonna do. So everyone know that's the goal. We're gonna make that happen. If y'all wanna come, again, you gotta let me know because I'm turning it in my papers soon.
Well, I want all of that for you and more. Please, let's give a round of applause to Alysia Montaño. Now you know why I love her. And major shout out to
Thank
Ultra
you.
Running. They support Alysia. They
Thank
support
you.
me.
Yes.
They are helping us.
I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. I love y'all. Thank you, Ultra.